In the quiet solitude of a Virginia beach in the late summer of 1895, a young man of just 18 years experienced what would become one of the most profound, yet overlooked spiritual revelations of modern times. This young man, who would later be known simply as Edgar, lay upon the sand in a self-induced trance state, speaking words that his companion frantically recorded in a leather-bound journal. "The souls are preparing," he whispered, his voice carrying an authority far beyond his years. "The ancient ones who have walked this earth in cycles immemorial are gathering in the realm between worlds. They await the great return, when the veil between dimensions grows thin enough for mass passage." This forgotten prophecy came during a period of great spiritual awakening across America and Europe. The late 19th century witnessed an unprecedented surge in metaphysical exploration. The Theosophical Society had been established, spiritualism was flourishing, and Western minds were opening to Eastern mystical traditions for the first time. It was an era when the material and spiritual worlds seemed on the verge of harmonious integration. Yet this particular prophecy remained obscured, overshadowed by more sensational psychic claims of the time. The young seer's companion, a physician named Wesley Ketchum, recognized the profound nature of what he was recording, but hesitated to share it widely, fearing both religious backlash and scientific ridicule. Thus, the prophecy was carefully preserved, but deliberately kept from public knowledge. What makes this revelation particularly significant is its striking specificity. Unlike vague apocalyptic warnings common in that era, this vision detailed a spiritual phenomenon that would unfold gradually over generations, culminating in our present time. "3 cycles shall pass before the gathering begins in earnest," the young prophet continued, "and another before the first wave returns. They come not as conquerors, but as healers, not as strangers, but as rememberers. They carry within them the wisdom of Atlantis, the compassion of Lemuria, and knowledge that predates all written history." The prophecy described how these returning souls would initially struggle with a profound sense of displacement, feeling alien in a world driven by material values and disconnected from natural rhythms. Many would experience inexplicable memories of ancient times and places, recurring dreams of cosmic significance, and an overwhelming sense of purpose they couldn't articulate. Most crucially, the vision warned that the greatest obstacle these souls would face would be forgetting their own nature. "They will walk among you appearing ordinary, yet carrying extraordinary gifts. The world will attempt to convince them they are nothing special. This is the great test, for only in remembering their true essence can they fulfill the purpose of their return." The companion who recorded these words couldn't have understood their full import. How could he know that this spontaneous trance on a Virginia beach would produce one of the most precise roadmaps for humanity's spiritual evolution, or that the systematic ignorance of this prophecy would itself be part of the unfolding cosmic plan? The full text of the 1895 prophecy remained secluded in private collections for decades, changing hands through a small network of metaphysical scholars and spiritual seekers. What follows is the most complete translation from the original journal entries, revealing the depth and complexity of what was foreseen. The souls return in 7 distinct waves, each with its own purpose and timing. The first wave began arriving shortly after the Great War that engulfed nations, presumably World War I. These were the scouts, old souls who came to prepare the ground and establish new thought patterns within human consciousness. They worked primarily through arts, literature, and early forms of psychology, planting seeds that would take generations to fully bloom. The second wave came during the period of material excess and spiritual poverty, likely referring to the mid-20th century. These souls carried strong memories of ancient wisdom traditions and worked to preserve and revitalize these teachings during times of forgetfulness. They established communities, schools of thought, and practices that would later become sanctuaries for the waves to follow. The third wave arrives during the Great Acceleration, when humanity's creations begin to outpace humanity's wisdom. These souls come with gifts of healing and balance, attempting to reconcile technological advancement with spiritual awareness. They are the bridge builders between worlds. The fourth wave comes during environmental awakening, carrying deep connection to the earth and all living systems. They remember how to communicate with the natural world and feel its pain as their own. Their purpose is to restore the sacred covenant between humanity and the planet that sustains it. The fifth wave are the system changers, arriving when existing structures begin to falter under their own weight. These souls carry memories of more harmonious social organizations from both Earth's past and other realms of existence. They will appear at all levels of society, working to transform rather than merely reform. The sixth wave are the rememberers of cosmic law. They bring awareness of humanity's place in the greater universe and reconnection with intelligences beyond Earth. They help prepare consciousness for a wider communion. The final wave are the integrators, souls who have experienced all previous cycles of civilization on Earth and return to help weave together the contributions of all waves into a new paradigm of existence. What makes this prophecy particularly remarkable is its detailed explanation of the difference between conscious and karmic returns, a distinction rarely articulated in spiritual literature of the time. Most souls return to Earth through the veil of forgetting, bound by karmic necessity and unconscious patterns. They learn through struggle and repetition, slowly evolving through experiences they do not recognize as self-created. The returning ancient souls described in this prophecy are of a different nature. They come through conscious choice rather than karmic compulsion. Though still subject to the limitations of physical embodiment and the forgetting that accompanies birth, they carry within them seeds of remembrance that can be awakened. These souls will be known by certain markers: an inexplicable sense of mission from early childhood, recurring dreams of teaching, healing, or warning others, difficulty conforming to prevailing social norms, periods of intense spiritual connection, followed by profound alienation, the sensation of receiving information from non-physical sources, and an overwhelming feeling that time is short and their work urgent. The prophecy was clear that these returning souls would face enormous challenges. The very materialistic society they were entering would actively work to disconnect them from their innate knowledge. Educational systems would train them to doubt their intuitive understanding. Medical paradigms would pathologize their spiritual sensitivities. The pressure to conform would threaten to override their soul memories. Most poignantly, the prophecy noted, many will arrive but fall into deep forgetting. They will sense their difference but misinterpret its meaning. The great tragedy is not that they might face opposition, but that they might never awaken to the purpose of their return. The most profound aspect of the 1895 prophecy lies in its explanation of why these ancient souls would choose to return at this specific point in human history. According to the transcribed words, we are witnessing not merely a random spiritual phenomenon, but a carefully orchestrated cosmic intervention. When humanity approaches the great crossroads where its choices will determine whether it ascends to its next evolution or returns to primal darkness, the Council of Light convenes. This gathering of elevated beings, some who have never incarnated on Earth and others who have evolved beyond the need for physical form, makes the call across dimensions. They summon the volunteers, the experienced ones who have weathered Earth's greatest civilizations and catastrophes, who carry in their essence the memory of humanity's highest achievements and most devastating failures. These souls come not to rescue humanity, for that would violate the law of free will, but to remember on humanity's behalf. They come as living libraries of wisdom that existed before the current forgetting. Each carries a specific frequency, a particular medicine that, when activated, helps rebalance the collective energy field of the planet. The prophecy described in remarkable detail the internal experience these returning souls would have as they awaken to their purpose. The awakening begins with discomfort, a persistent feeling of not belonging that no external success can soothe. This grows into an existential restlessness, often misdiagnosed by conventional thinking as depression or anxiety. Dreams intensify, carrying messages that the conscious mind struggles to interpret. Synchronicities multiply, creating a sense that the universe itself is attempting communication. The critical phase comes when the soul begins to recognize its own nature. This often follows a period of crisis or dissolution where former identities and attachments fall away. What conventional society might label a breakdown is actually a breakthrough, the necessary dismantling of false structures that obscured the soul's true purpose. Once awakened, these souls experience a reorientation to time itself. Their awareness expands beyond the linear limitations of past, present, and future. They begin to perceive patterns and cycles, recognizing how current events echo ancient dynamics they have witnessed before. This expanded perspective allows them to serve as way showers, helping others navigate the intensifying transformation of consciousness now underway. Perhaps most importantly, the prophecy addressed why this massive soul return was initially hidden from common knowledge. The veil was placed over this knowledge deliberately, not by forces of darkness, but by cosmic wisdom. For if these returning souls were identified too early, before sufficient numbers had arrived and awakened, they would face persecution or exploitation. Some would be elevated as false messiahs, others would be condemned as heretics or madmen. More dangerously, premature revelation would allow counterfeit systems to arise, mimicking the language of soul return while serving egocentric purposes. The prophecy must remain obscured until the critical threshold is reached, when enough awakened souls are present to create a field of resonance strong enough to withstand the resistance of old paradigms. This moment coincides with what appears to be global crisis, for the breakdown of obsolete systems and the emergence of new consciousness are two aspects of the same process. The manuscript described 7 distinct signs that would indicate when this threshold had been reached. First, children will be born with extraordinary sensitivities and awareness, remembering what others have forgotten. Second, ancient wisdom traditions from across the world will experience revival and find unexpected common ground. Third, the material structures of society will reveal their instability, creating space for new forms to emerge. Fourth, the natural world will communicate its distress in ways too powerful to ignore. Fifth, technologies will emerge that appear to mimic consciousness, forcing humanity to redefine what awareness truly means. Sixth, spontaneous communities will form among strangers who recognize one another beyond logical explanation. Seventh, direct communication with non-physical realms will become increasingly common, dissolving the boundary between seen and unseen realities. The prophecy insisted that these returning souls would not arrive with supernatural powers or messianic status, but rather with heightened capacities for love, presence, and integrated wisdom, precisely the qualities needed to navigate humanity's current evolutionary threshold. They will not be known by extraordinary displays, but by the depth of their compassion, the clarity of their seeing, and their unwavering commitment to truth. Their power lies not in domination, but in their ability to awaken remembrance in others. The final portion of the 1895 prophecy moves beyond description into prescription, offering specific guidance for those who recognize themselves as part of this soul return and for those who encounter them. It speaks directly to our current moment with uncanny precision. As the veils between dimensions continue to thin, more of these ancient souls will awaken to their purpose. This awakening is not instantaneous but unfolds in stages, often triggered by encounters with others of their soul family or by contact with certain energetic gateways on the Earth's surface, places where the boundary between physical and non-physical realms is naturally permeable. The awakening souls will recognize one another through resonance rather than external signs. A conversation between two strangers may suddenly access depths that transcend the personal, touching cosmic memory. Dreams may be shared across distance. Synchronistic meetings will multiply, often in locations of spiritual or historical significance. Yet the most profound aspect of this great return is not what these souls bring, but what they catalyze within all of humanity. Their presence serves as a tuning fork, activating dormant frequencies in even those who have no conscious awareness of spiritual matters. This is the hidden purpose behind the return, not to create a separate class of enlightened beings, but to elevate the vibrational field of the entire planet. The prophecy offers clear guidance for identifying whether you are among these returning souls. You will know yourself not through special powers, but through a peculiar relationship with time. You feel both ancient and new, carrying memories that extend far beyond your current lifetime, while experiencing this world with unusual freshness. You find yourself strangely moved by certain historical periods or geographical locations with which you have no logical connection. You experience periodic downloads of understanding that arrive fully formed rather than being intellectually constructed. You feel called to serve humanity's evolution, though the specific form of this service may remain unclear until later stages of your awakening. You recognize truth through resonance in your body rather than through external authority. Most distinctively, you feel simultaneously at home in the cosmos, yet alienated from many aspects of contemporary human society. This paradox creates both your greatest suffering and your greatest gift, for it allows you to participate in human experience while maintaining the perspective necessary to help transform it. For those who do not identify as returning ancient souls, but find themselves drawn to this knowledge, the prophecy offers equally important guidance. The division between old souls and young souls is ultimately an illusion, for all consciousness emerges from the same divine source. Those who recognize and support the awakening ones perform a service equally vital to planetary evolution. They create the conditions that allow the remembering to unfold. The true measure of spiritual advancement is not the age of the soul, but the capacity for love, presence, and conscious choice in each moment. Many who do not carry extensive cosmic memories nevertheless possess profound wisdom and compassion that the world desperately needs. The prophecy concludes with a warning and a promise that speaks directly to our turbulent times. As the great remembering accelerates, resistance will intensify. Systems based on forgetting, separation, and control cannot sustain themselves when confronted with awakened consciousness. Their dissolution may appear catastrophic from within the old paradigm, but is in fact the necessary clearing for what wishes to be born. The returning souls have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations throughout Earth's history. They know that what appears to be collapse from one perspective is transformation from another. Their task is to hold this wider vision steady while walking through the very real challenges of a world in transition. The promise embedded in this time of great change is not utopian perfection, but authentic evolution. The opportunity for humanity to consciously participate in its own rebirth. The ancient souls return not to rescue humanity from this process, but to remind us of our capacity to navigate it with wisdom, courage, and love. Remember, you chose to be here for this planetary transition. Whether as a returning ancient or as one who supports the Great Awakening, your presence is not accidental. The very challenges that seem most overwhelming may be precisely the conditions needed to activate your deepest gifts. The ultimate message of this prophecy is that remembering precedes transformation. When enough souls remember who they truly are and why they came, the critical mass will be reached. What appears impossible within the limitations of the old consciousness becomes the natural unfolding of the new. The time of waiting and preparing is over. The time of conscious remembering and co-creating has begun. The ignored prophecy now reveals itself not as passive prediction, but as active invitation to remember, to awaken, and to participate in the most significant evolutionary leap in human history. In the century and a quarter since these words were first uttered on that Virginia beach, they have traveled quietly through generations, protected until the very moment when they would be most needed. That moment is now. The prophecy has completed its journey from obscurity to revelation, just as was foreseen by the young seer who would become known simply as Edgar. The question that remains is not whether this prophecy is true, but what truth you recognize within it. For in that recognition lies the beginning of your own remembering. If these words stirred something deep within you, a recognition beyond mere intellectual curiosity, you may be one of the souls described in this ancient prophecy. The awakening happens one consciousness at a time, yet strengthens with each connection made. Subscribe now to join our community of remembering souls and receive further revelations about the great cosmic return. Each chapter we share brings another piece of the spiritual puzzle your soul has been seeking. Comment below with your own awakening experiences. What aspects of this prophecy resonated most strongly with you? Have you experienced the signs of remembering described in these chapters? Your story may be the very catalyst another soul needs to begin their own remembering journey. The time for silence has passed. The time for conscious connection is now. Subscribe, comment, remember.